if you are like me, unfortunate enough to follow Darren Grimes, not for because I want to follow him. I'm following him because I do this. This is sort of what I do. When I get a chance to do it, and he has been for the past at least I would say 2 weeks ago in serious damage control mode, trying in any which way he can to try and justify the fact that Reform UK in Durham are about to raise council tax. Not only that, but they are also going to do away with a provision that the previous councils have had, that people on lower incomes do not have to pay full council tax. They're going to do away with that as well, meaning that a lot of people in County Durham are going to now have an increase on their council tax. And Darren Grimes, for the past 2 weeks, has been in serious damage control mode, trying any way which he can to just try and fling as much stuff at the wall and just try to see if anything will work. Because remember, at their election, one of the things that they promised Reform basically banged on about constantly is we are going to lower your council tax because we're going to come in and we're going to do all this Doge stuff. We're going to cut all the waste, fraud, and abuse, and then we're going to lower your council tax, and it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. Well, as we have been constantly covering, they can't, because councils have borne the brunt of austerity. There is nothing left to cut. And remember, we are going into budget season in December. So we are going to have, I think, so much to cover from all these reform councils during like December, January, and February. So, oh boy, is it going to be interesting when that happens. So, as always, before we go into more of this existential panic that certainly not only Reform UK and Durham are under at the moment, but Darren Grimes is desperately, because remember, he's in charge of communications and finance, and he is their deputy leader. Yeah, so pulling a triple job in County Durham is Darren Grimes, but he is desperately trying to spin this any which way he possibly can. So we're going to go and have a look at this and what impact this is going to have now on the people of Durham, because this is entirely down to Reform UK and, well, their absolute incompetence on display once again. So before we go continuing on into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button down below. And of course, there is the bell as well, so don't forget to ring that to get notifications when we go live and when we drop a new video. Down below, of course, there is the Patreon page. There's the Buy Me Coffee link where you can buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, there's the YouTube membership down below as well. And of course, it was Wednesday yesterday, so there will be a new video for all the Patreon members and of course, all the YouTube members as well. And of course, this link up here, this QR code, will take you straight to the Patreon as well. So, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and tell me what you think about this, especially if you are from Durham. Would love to know what the people of Durham think about this. So, as always, thank you very much, and let's crack on then into this. So, County Durham residents now fear higher tax bills as Reform UK plans council tax changes. Oh dear. So, in County Durham, the Reform UK administration has now proposed council tax alterations that now could affect thousands of vulnerable residents in County Durham. New plans put forward by the local authority could now mean that an individual on a modest income might now have to contend with increased expenses. In County Durham, council tax has long had a council tax support scheme, but the Reform UK-led council have now put that forward a number of changes, claiming now that there is now need for adjustment in light now of financial pressures. In response, the County Durham Labour Group has now called the Reform-led council suggestions deeply unsettling for those now dependent on that scheme. Councillor Rob Crew, leader of the County Durham in Labour, said, "It comes now as no surprise to see that people are angry at Reform UK's administration running the Durham County Council. All working age individuals will now need to contribute a baseline sum towards their council tax bill if the cap is scratched, thereby ensuring that everyone pays for council tax and council services regardless of their economic situation." And that is going to cause huge problems for a lot of people, especially on low incomes, because your council tax is going to go up. That could be an extra 50, £100, depending. So that is suddenly, for a lot of people on low income, that's suddenly a lot of extra money to fork out. So going back to, of course, the local elections, Reform UK suggested that they would, of course, cut council tax bills. However, Zia Youssef, who leads Reform's UK's so-called Doge unit, admitted that back in July, councils under the governments would not manage to lower council tax. Meanwhile, Labour has now argued that the constituents completely feel misled after earlier assurances that council tax would not rise. North Durham MP Luke Ainhurst has now appealed to the council to maintain the existing council tax support scheme and expressed concern that one of the first actions of the reform-led administration could now involve a significant increase in council tax. This scheme goes back and was established back in 2014, and at present, over 32,000 individuals make use of it, with the aim of the scheme to provide discounts of over 100% on their council tax to eligible working age residents. Identified now in the Bishop Auckland, Ferryhill, Peterhill, and of course Stanley, these areas are of course very likely to be hardest hit since they have the highest number of council tax discount claims. I have to wonder if all these areas voted for reform. I generally have to wonder if all these areas voted for reform. It would not shock me if they all did, and how they might feel about how they voted for reform now at that point. So, according to, of course, the 2021 census data, deprivation data, more than, of course, half of these households in these towns experience some form of deprivation, making them on the most disadvantaged now in the country. The Chronicle Live reported that County Durham Labour launched a petition calling on a reform-led council to abandon these plans to scrap the current scheme and instead protect the working class residents from the council tax increases. The BBC, of course, then reported that Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey then accused Reform UK of making now a complete mess of County Durham after taking control just earlier this year. David pledged to expose what he described as the council's very poor performance, criticised Farage's party for abandoning the net zero policies, and saying that now they would say, he said that they would say all saving taxpayers' money, which again, they were. I do not understand why they've gone so hard and just abandoned a lot of this net zero stuff, because some of them abandoning that net zero stuff, as we covered, the solar panels, that's actually going to cost them money in the long run, because some of that stuff had already been approved. That means they now have to cancel these contracts, which means canceling these contracts still means they have to pay these companies money because they were all ready and raring to go. They'd had all the equipment stuff done, ready to build this stuff. If you just cancel the contract, well, you still have to pay that company money. The only thing is you don't actually get any of the solar panels or any of the benefits that would have been. And as we've seen before, these solar panels that they would have built paid for themselves in 8 years, and after that, it would have been a big, big benefit in the long run to the council. Once again, no long-term thinking whatsoever at these reform councils. So, since winning, of course, back in May, the Reform administration has scrapped all its net zero targets, halted any purchases of electric vehicles on cost grounds, and dropped all plans to install solar panels on council buildings. Talking about, of course, all the electric cars, County Durham councillor leader Darren Grimes was also reported now as saying, "We've got workers sat waiting for their cars to charge instead of being out on the road delivering for the people of County Durham. That is a saving in itself." And that is the most stupid statement I've ever heard about electric cars in my life. I don't know about you, but that is insane. No mention, of course, was made of the electric cars actually being charged outside of working hours. Just again, just to show you just how stupid that statement really is from Darren Grimes. But then again, it is Darren Grimes. And like I say, if you want some entertainment, just go have a look at his Twitter page for the last week and a half or so, and look how he's desperately trying anything he possibly can to try and justify these tax rises. Reform Councillor Terry McGuinness, the portfolio holder for the rural and farming and transport, did say, "If there are any projects or buildings near these green technologies that do work on, we are interested. But we are only now, but only if there is a reasonable payback time." Great. So those solar panels that you got rid of would have worked and would have had, a fairly reasonable payback time. 8 years, that's not really a long time. Might seem like it, but again, they pay for themselves, and after that, it's pure profit. What that in itself, the statement from their own guy contradicts all that. Anyway, in response to reform, Davey then said, look at, of course, what reform, of course, is doing in Durham. They're running the council and making a complete mess of it, wasting taxpayers' money. In opposing now net zero policies, reform are basically going to cost the taxpayers more money. Indeed, they are on that one. So, where Reform UK has now formed a majority on the Durham Council since May, alongside several other councils across the country, the party, of course, promoted plans to emulate all of Elon Musk's Doge unit in the US to eliminate what they called unnecessary spending. However, back on the 6th of October, the London Economic reported that the Doge-style experiment in Kent had completely faltered, with Reform-led council there instead insisting that the council tax had to rise by 5%. Reform's campaign promises also here now to have completely collided with reality. With spending now branded as waste, many now, in fact, have been actually essential in keeping services running after years of austerity, which now has already left local budgets stripped to the bone. Councils in the regions like the North East have arguably needed a lot more funding, not less, to try and deliver these services that people rely on. If Reform UK is struggling to manage local government responsibly, it raises serious questions how the party would actually handle national power. Very true indeed. Now, I've said this since the beginning. If Reform get in and they have to, walk the walk, finally, it's not just all about talking. You can be the gift of the gab all you want, but you are actually in. You are in power. And the places where they are in power, they are failing spectacularly. It is pure just incompetence. They have zero clue about what they're doing. They are going in with this really weird view, most of this free market fundamentalist point of view, where they can just cut everything, lower taxes, and what wonderful views this all will be. It's not happening. It's not working. And if it is this bad at local government level, then yeah, how on earth are they going to run a national government? So we'll see. Will these councils that are in charge, and remember, in May, it is very likely they will win more council seats and more councils. Will these actually be the undoing of Nigel Farage at the next general election? Could very well likely be. Because after all, if you are seeing firsthand how reform are bad in your local government, why on earth then would you then vote for reform on a national stage? So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Do remember, of course, to click the like and share button. Don't forget to ring the bell as well, so you get notifications when we go live, etc. Do leave a comment down below as well, especially if you are from County Durham. I will be very interested to know what you think about all this and what's going on in Durham. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.